The mayor of Puerto Rico's capital, San Juan, has described Donald Trump's visit to the hurricane-hit island as insulting, and called him a miscommunicator-in-chief. Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz described his televised meeting with officials as a PR, 17-minute meeting. The sight of him throwing paper towels to people in the crowd was terrible and abominable, she added. Mr. Trump tweeted it had been a great day in Puerto Rico. But he also took another swipe at the reporting of his trip. Wow, so many fake news stories today. No matter what I do or say, they will not write or speak truth. The fake news media is out of control. End of Twitter post by @RealDonaldTrump. Tuesday's 5-hour presidential trip to San Juan came 2 weeks after Hurricane Maria devastated the island, and followed complaints that the U.S. government's handling of the storm's aftermath was too slow. Only 7% of the island has power, and more remote parts of the island, a U.S. territory, have been without food, water and basic medical aid. Before landing on the island, Mr. Trump graded his own administration's response as an A+. During his televised meeting with emergency responders and officials of Puerto Rico, he went out of his way to praise, and seek compliments for, the federal response. Every death is a horror, the president said, but if you look at a real catastrophe like Katrina, and you look at the tremendous, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that died, and you look at what happened here, with really a storm that was just totally overpowering, nobody's ever seen anything like this. He then turned to the governor of Puerto Rico, Ricardo Rossello, and asked how many people had died in the storm. 17? 16 people certified, 16 people versus in the thousands, Mr. Trump said, referring to the 2005 hurricane that killed 1,833 people in New Orleans. Governor Rossello later clarified that the number of people in Puerto Rico killed by Maria had increased to 34. Mr. Trump also pointed to the impact of the cost of storm recovery on U.S. domestic spending, which was already facing a budget shortfall of $72 billion, £54 billion, telling Puerto Ricans, "You've thrown our budget a little out of whack." But that's fine. After his meeting, he toured in and around San Juan, stopping at a church to hand out relief supplies. As well as throwing paper towels into the crowd, he apparently glanced at a pile of solar-powered flashlights, saying you don't need them anymore. Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz. After the visit, that his meeting with officials had been a PR exercise in which there was no exchange with anybody, with none of the mayors, she went on to say, this terrible and abominable view of him throwing paper towels and throwing provisions at people, it does not embody the spirit of the American nation, you know? She said his comments about throwing the U.S. budget out of whack were insulting to the people of Puerto Rico, and his comparisons with Katrina minimized our suffering. Well, you know what? They are dying. They don't have the medical resources, she pointed out. Ms. Cruz said he had become sort of like miscommunicator-in-chief who showed no interest in reaching out to those who were suffering. But she went on to say his staff, on the other hand, seemed to want to approach this a different way. She tweeted after the meeting. Meeting with WH staff productive. They really understood the disconnect between how things are supposed to happen, and how they really happen. End of Twitter post by @Carmen Yulín Cruz. Ms. Cruz had been called a poor leader by President Trump in a tweet at the weekend, after she accused his administration of killing us with the inefficiency. On Tuesday, she shook hands with him and told him, "It's about saving lives, it's not about politics." He did not respond. Following the visit, the White House announced it was preparing to send a $29 billion, £22 billion, disaster aid request to Congress.